Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. Can you please join me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and
and
justice.
for all. Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'm going to do a roll call. So if you can just say here and raise your hand. Joe Colon.
Here.
Pat Kelly. I know. Pat was on.
I'm here.
Pat, okay, I got you now. Kim Botsford.
Here.
Brent Clark.
Here.
Randy McGregor.
Here.
Kathy Papo.
Here.
Aaron Metnish.
Here.
Keith Stryker.
Here.
We also have Superintendent Michael Williams.
Here.
Carrie Poley. We also are joined by Mr. Robert Whitaker. All right, we're going to go right to the superintendent's report. Mr. Williams.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. And I'd like to welcome anybody who's joining us virtually this evening. So as everyone probably knows by now, we have extended our Christmas recess 2 days. December 21st and 22nd will now be days off from school, including no instruction. So that gives us a full 2 weeks for the Christmas recess, which I think everybody has earned and everybody needs. So hopefully they'll take that time to refresh and recharge, because we are entering the deep, dark days of winter, and we all want to stay focused on doing what's right and staying safe. So hopefully everybody will use that 2 weeks wisely and enjoy themselves. Right after we get back from the holiday recess, we'll be starting extracurricular activities. So we are working through the advisors list right now. The advisors are submitting proposals as to what the activities will look like, but it's our hope that we will bring some more normalcy back to the student population. Next week on Thursday, the Sullivan County Democrat will be here interviewing some of our teachers and students regarding the school scene insert. If you read the Democrat, you know that they do this every fall, and a number of schools have already been featured, but it's Tri-Valley's turn. So we expect them next Thursday. This message is for parents who may be parents of students who are not attending school physically, but are scheduled to. We have a small percentage of our population that is designated to be in physical attendance. And over the last several weeks, we've noticed that these students have stopped attending, but have not indicated to the school district that their students, that they're going only virtual. We have sent letters and made contact with these families. They have until December 14th to confirm what their choice will be for instruction. If they do confirm that their children are going to remain in person, we are going to expect them to start attending regularly. And if we do not hear from those families, we will be giving those spots out to other students who have indicated a desire to return to physical attendance that are currently virtual. So that's December 14th for those families. I want to speak about the letter that went out yesterday that some people in the community have received and some have not, regarding testing. That letter was sent to inform the community about the possibility that exists should Sullivan County or segments in Sullivan County be designated as a yellow zone. Yellow zone, because the indicators have changed now, the yellow zone would indicate a high infection rate, a certain death rate, a certain hospitalization rate, and could be the entire county or could be segments of the county. However, whether it's yellow, orange, or red, all of those require a testing protocol be implemented by the school if the school wishes to remain open physically, which of course is the goal of every school. I sent that letter to parents to inform them of a possibility. There's nothing saying that that's going to be a definite thing, but I wanted them to be armed with knowledge to make an informed decision. We did send parent permission slips home. If a parent is willing to have their child tested, and the test would be done by Sullivan County Department of Health personnel, not by our school nurses, they can send that back and indicate so. If they are not willing to do that, they don't have to send the form back at all. The bottom line is that we would have to guarantee that we are able to test on a random basis 20% of our in-person population. So that letter and permission slip does not apply to anybody who's using a virtual only option. This is for students who physically attend school. Within the first 2 weeks of a designation, we would need to test 20% of the population randomly. If our infection rate fell under the general infection rate for the yellow zone, we would be allowed to open physically again and continue without additional testing. If it would go above that, we could continue randomly testing 20%. My concern is that we will not have 20% of the population agreeable to be tested. If that's the case, we would have no choice as the district other than to remain virtual. Zone designation has been lifted. So I wanted parents to know that information ahead of time so they could do their research and make decisions. I'm firmly convinced nothing will happen before the recess, but everybody seems to be a bit concerned about what may happen in the 2 to 3 weeks after the Christmas recess because of people that may travel out of state. So I'll wait to see what kind of response I get from parents. I've been seeing some interesting responses on social media, but I haven't gotten any responses back here at school. But I just want parents to know that this is not a definite. This is really just me informing them of a possibility so they can make an informed decision should we get to that point. To that end, all the superintendents in the county will be meeting virtually tomorrow with Nancy McGraw, the Director of Public Health in Sullivan County, to review the testing protocols and what might happen if a school or several schools get designated in a yellow zone at the same time. That'll happen tomorrow. Next week, we'll be opening bids for the capital project. We had a meeting of all the principals in the project yesterday. I've been told that the responses have been very good with regards to some of our subcontractors, specifically plumbing and electrical work. We are having a hard time finding general contractors. So hopefully that will change in the next week and we'll have accurate bids to open. We're scheduled tentatively to do that next Thursday, and that will be done also virtually, not in person. And I think that is it for my report today. Does anybody have any questions?
Mike, I have a couple questions about the letter you were referring to. One of them is if parents do not agree to their child being tested, and those people have their students going or their children going in person, they're still able to do so without agreeing to the testing.
They're correct. What we've been told right now is if I would get 20% or more of the parents agreeable to have their child tested, we would bring a child down to wherever the location is. If the student says, I refuse to be tested, we would send that child back to class and start with the next student until we hit the 20% threshold. So the reason for the letter is just to make sure we would actually have 20% willing to participate. Because if we don't, obviously, that would be a waste of everybody's time.
And all the costs with the testing, is that covered by the county?
It's all free.
All free.
It's all free. The state has already sent the testing materials to the county. They have them. There are some questions about if they have enough staff, especially if more than one school would be designated. But there is absolutely no cost to the students or parents for the testing.
And one last question: all the various staff that we have, do they have an option? Can they opt in, opt out?
That's an outstanding question, and it's a question that I am pursuing right now. My first take on that would be that they have the option to opt out like anybody else would.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions?
Like, I just had one question too. In the letter, it stated it was a rapid test. Are they going to actually bring the materials to the school to test? So we know immediately once these kids are swabbed?
Yes, and that creates an interesting dilemma for the school because right now we do not accept rapid test results for a return to school. So we would have to alter our internal policy. And if the numbers justified, if I got more than 25% or 20% with a positive return saying we'd be willing to do this, we'd have to sit down and look at possibly adjusting our policy. The problem is that the rapid test is not as effective as the RPC test, or the longer test. So there's always a possibility that we bring a person who is actually infected back into the population, and then they learn 3 or 4 days later that, well, the rapid test was wrong, you're actually infected, and then we've implicated a number of students and staff in contact tracing, which is actually what happened the first time we closed down for 2 weeks. That very scenario occurred.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I got one more, sorry. Are they talking about pool testing for students? I know on college campuses, that's a big thing where they take samples from, like, say 4 people, and they analyze that, and they kind of try and get the most bang for their buck from the tests. Do you know if the county's pushing for that?
I have not heard anything to that effect. What we've been told is that here's a scenario. So we have about 600 people on campus over the course of a week using our 3 cohorts, and then staff members will come in every day. If I need to test 20%, I need to test 120 people randomly, which is a pretty big sampling of people. So we would need at least 120 parents, students, staff members to agree to be tested. And if we don't get more than that, then it's really not a random test. It's a dedicated list. So there are a number of questions some of which will hopefully be answered tomorrow in our call with the Department of Public Health.
Anyone else? Randy, you're waving your hand, or you have a question or no?
Sorry about that. Mike, I just have a question. Is it K through 12 regarding the testing?
It's all students and staff who are on campus.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, everyone.
Are there any items the board wishes pulled from tonight's agenda? Okay, we're moving on. I need a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion.
Motion Joe, second Kim. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, we're going to proceed by voting with our right hand. No opposition, so that is unanimous, Norma. Next, we have board committee reports. Policy committee, I think this is right to the end of your policies. Here we go. Policy number 5300, Code of Conduct Part 2, definitions as attached to the public portion of the agenda. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Motion Aaron, second Kim. Any discussion? All in favor, please proceed to vote by raising your right hand. There's no opposition. Norma, that passed unanimously. Next, we have Policy 5300, Code of Conduct Part 6. Be it resolved, the board reviewed and adopts Policy 5300, Code of Conduct Part 6, prohibited student conduct as attached to the public portion of the agenda. Need a motion and a second. Motion Aaron, second Keith. Any discussion? All in favor, please proceed to vote by raising your right hand. That is unanimous, Norma. Next, we have Policy 5300, Code of Conduct Part 8, reporting violations. Be it resolved, the board reviewed and adopts Policy 5300, Code of Conduct Part 8, reporting violations as attached to the public portion of the agenda. Need a motion and a second. Motion Brent, second Joe. Any discussion? Please proceed to vote by raising your right hand. Please vote yes. This is unanimous, Norma. Next, we have Policy 5300, Code of Conduct Part 10, disciplinary penalties, procedures, and referrals. Be it resolved, the board reviews and adopts Policy 5300, Code of Conduct Part 10, disciplinary penalties, procedures, and referrals as attached to the public portion of the agenda. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Motion Pat, second Keith. Any discussion? All in favor, please proceed to vote by raising your right hand. That is also unanimous, Norma. Next, we have a first reading for the Code of Conduct 2020-2021 that is attached. That'll be on the next agenda for approval. We have policy reference substitutions. Be it resolved, the new records retention schedule, LGS-1, was adopted by the Board of Education on November 5, 2020. As of January 1, 2021, the ED-1 district or schedule will become obsolete. Therefore, the board approves replacing ED-1 with LGS-1 in the following policies. A, 1120 school district records. B, 5500 student records. C, 5500-R student records regulation. D, 5710 uniform violent and disruptive incident reporting system, VADIR, and E, 8414.4 video cameras on school buses. Need a motion and a second. Motion Randy, second Aaron. Any discussion? All in favor, please proceed to vote by raising your right hand. That is unanimous, Norma. Next, old business. We don't have any items on old business. Oh, wait, no. Wait, I gotta go back, sorry. Last is the first reading, policy 5605, voter registration for students. That'll also be on the next agenda. So that concludes the board committee reports, I believe. I don't believe any other committees have had the opportunity to or necessity to meet at this point. So thank you, policy committee. Hopefully you're good until 2021. All right, old business. There are no items of old business. Public comment session for items that are not on tonight's agenda. There are no items. Announcements, reminders, and upcoming events. I believe you covered it all, Mr. Williams, correct?
I believe so.
New business, we have the proposed 2021-2022 budget calendar. So that is going to be presented by Mr. Whitaker.
I don't know if Mr. Whitaker's available. I'd be happy to present it.
Yeah, I'm looking. Okay.
Okay, so as you can see, the budget calendar is very similar to last year's budget calendar with simple date changes. We are planning right now that a budget vote will be held in May as it normally would. Of course, anything remains to be seen as we continue through this year. And we're also expecting in June that there will be a budget revote day. That remains, of course, to be seen as how that will be scheduled. But as you can see, we're already into the December 3rd part of the calendar. And Mr. Whitaker has told you that he'll be giving budget status updates throughout the first part of the year. We hope in early January to have the governor's budget proposal, so we'll know exactly what kind of state aid we're working with. And we hope by the 21st of January to have the first introductory budget info to you. And then as is normal, Mr. Whitaker and I will present different components of the overall budget, hoping for a April 8th adoption, and then we vote on the BOCES budget on the 20th, our formal hearing on May 4th, and then hopefully a budget vote on May 18th of 2021. Are there any questions about the proposed calendar?
Any questions?
Yep.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to approve the proposed calendar.
Motion.
Motion Pat, second Randy. Any further discussion? All in favor, please proceed to vote by raising your right hand. That is unanimous, Norma. Next, we have the internal audit waiver. Be it resolved in compliance with the internal control exemption education law section 2116-B and commissioner's regulation section 170.12 subsection B subsection 3 and 0.7 regulatory audit and related corrective action, the board approves the request for an internal audit waiver for the 2020-2021 school year and approves the use of this internal audit waiver as a cost-saving measure. Need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Kim, second Pat. Any discussion? All right, no discussion. All in favor, please proceed to vote by raising your right hand. That is unanimous, Norma.
Wanted to tell you that Mr. Whitaker apologizes. He's having technical difficulties. He just sent me a text message saying that his microphone was not working.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Mike. All right. At this time, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion, Pat. Second, Aaron. Please proceed to vote by raising your right hand. That is unanimous. All right, our next board meeting is on Thursday, December 17th at 7 o'clock. That concludes the meeting at 7:23 p.m. Be well, Tri-Valley.